Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. As you can see by the background, we're continuing into the woods. This will be let me get my book, episode 51. We left it last time with Ruggles having activated, and another chit draw was drawn for him, and he's activating again. So once we get down to the map, we'll see basically Ruggles having two activations. Can he finally push Sherman out of the way? If you could like and subscribe to the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and any comments be much appreciated. And if you'd like to support the channel, if you could do, there's also now there what's called a super thanks. That would be much appreciated because it will all be funneled into the channel to buy more of these things. Anyway, let's go down to the battle or the map and see what's going on. Okay, so bringing up the overall map. I started to do that on the last video, and as someone requested it. So there's the overall picture of the situation that is ongoing. We have the Confederates with this is Ruggles Brigade division over here, that we will be continuing his exploitation. Okay, I'm learning how to use these pen things on this map, so bear with me. All right, so Ruggles is driving this way, and obviously Sherman is trying to hold him back with the remnants. But he's down effectively two brigades, because one's over here marching that way, though it might be called upon to do things along this line here. So yeah, and obviously I can't remember his name. One of the brigade commanders has fallen back because he was down to just some artillery and that was it. So yeah, it's not looking too good for Sherman, but Ruggles is still struggling to get over the actual stream here. So that's that situation. Now, apparently I can rebel it out. Hey, isn't that cool? Toys, boys. Yeah. All right. So I like that. Okay. So that's where we're at on that. Let's zoom in on the action and, yeah, continue with Ruggles' second activation. All right. Well, having a quick look at Ruggles' division, he's not in such good shape either, is he? Most of his units are disordered pretty much along that whole front line. So does he spend this actual activation to push with disordered units, or does he try and rally them and then wait? Hopefully, he gets the next activation before Sherman does. Sherman has Ruggles we know has got 3 activation chits in there. Sherman had 4. They both had 1 out. Well, now Ruggles has 2 out. So the likelihood Sherman will go again before Ruggles gets his 3rd. So maybe it's prudent to actually push at this point. The other little thing we have going for us is, this is me wearing my Confederate hat. When I'm playing the Union, I wear my Union hat. So the one thing we have got going for us here is Mr. Johnson. Now, he could activate, with one of his special abilities, another brigade to go before Sherman. So in actual fact, he could get another brigade of Ruggles going forward, or maybe even Palmer here. So there's a lot of disordered units on the Confederate side, but I don't think it's the time to take a breather, and we might be able to use Johnson to rally them, to get them going forward. So yeah, I think it's time to keep pushing. So right, who are we going to start with? You know what? Let's actually start in the middle. So let's start with, where's Ruggles? Gibson is yellow. Who's red? Anderson, Mr. Anderson. All right. Yeah. So there's artillery holding the line, but okay. So we're going to start with Mr. Anderson, and we're going to push this brigade into there and do a facing change and fire some. This guy here cannot respond because he's already in the front of that unit. So this unit is going to pour some fire into the flank. Right. This unit is going to pour some fire into the flank of that unit. All right. So it's muskets at point blank range. It's +2. I did ask in the last video if people like it that I bring the charts and tables up. I didn't get any response regarding it, so I'm not going to bring them up in this one until someone says, actually, I like to see the charts and tables. But remember, they are in my email. I can't remember what the actual name is, but in on my channel, there's a section where I put up pictures and the charts and tables are in there. Okay, so muskets at point blank range is +2. Now we are firing into the woods, so that subtracts 1. We are also disordered, so that subtracts 1, so that takes us to zero. But we are firing into the flank of a unit, which gives us probably +1. Let's have a look. Target hit by flanking fire is +1. So that's +1 on the table, and 7 increments of firing in. Make sure I get the right dice. There we go. So that's a 5. So, okay, so that's an automatic, because it's a natural 5, that they now go ammunition depleted. So next time they fire, they'll have depleted ammunition. But with a 5 +1, 6, that is a 6 to 8. That's a D +2 on the 40th Illinois. Okay, so their morale is G3. The leader gives them 1. You use a star rating as their morale modifier, but that is cancelled out because of the time of the day. So it's G +3 with +2 on this dice. Okay, 2 + 2 is 4. So they fail. So looking at the second disorder table, if you fail from fire, that should be lose 1 step, retreat 2 hexes from memory. But hey ho, won't be the first time I make a mistake. From the fire table, yeah, lose 1 SP and then retreat 1 to 2 hexes. Okay, let's move that out of the way. 1, 2 hexes. That then goes down to decrease to 10. 12. Okay. Then they have to do another check on their UDD 5, which they fail, which means they rout. Yeah, this is special rule 12.35, route check from fire. Until the end of the 10 a.m. turn of any first day scenario, Union infantry units, not artillery or cavalry, that suffer a second disorder from small arms fire, which they've just done, must UDD after any required retreat. A failed roll results in rout. This is something I actually did miss on quite a few of the earlier rounds. So, yeah, the Confederates could be a little bit more in advance. But anyway, otherwise there's no effect. Units that lose an SP while collapse check for rout only once, not twice, blah, blah, blah. Okay. McDowell, we have to do a see if he actually gets wounded check because there was an SP loss. He's okay. And then he is moved to another one of his units. He's not swept away in the rout. So I think that's the best option we got there, really. Not the art. Oh, there's one unit under there. Right, my bad. It's got to be the closest if possible. There we go. Right. Okay, so let me just remove this unit. Okay, so as you can see now on the screen, Sherman's division is taking a bit of a battering. So there's 3 regiments from one command. You can tell by the blue on their cohesion number. Then you've got 2 from the green command. So that's the 3rd Division, 4th Division, and now, sorry, Brigade. It's all Sherman's division. Duh. Okay. So yeah, 3rd Brigade, 4th Brigade, and now the 1st Brigade has its first unit from a route point of view. So yes, taking a little bit of a battering. Now this unit here cannot advance into there from the fire. If he'd started adjacent, then he could have done so. But yeah, that's him. That's him done. Okay. So this is the reg command. Oh, it's just some guns holding the line now. So let's move up some infantry now. Approach fire. This cannon can fire it here. The Union player, would he know that this guy's going to move up into there to engage? I think it's bleeding obvious, so it's going to hold its fire until they get there. And then we get the approach fire. That means the guns are going to get 2 shots. So point blank range. There are 6 steps of artillery. And I'm just getting me charts and tables. Class is small arms fire. So at that range, the Ls and the H12s, they're at +3 or +4 if you fire them separately. +4 for the H12s. I think we'll fire them together, all combined shots. So that's 6 steps of artillery firing with a +3 modifier, -1 for the firing into the woods. So there's a +2 modifier. Sherman doesn't actually add anything to that shot. So it's +2. This could get nasty. 2 + 2 is 4. So they got slightly away. That's just a little D check. Okay. On which they're fine. So they survive the approach fire. And now they fire themselves. Muskets at +2. Actually, that's a good point. If they fire, they'll get return fire from that as well. So let's not fire and mark them as charging. They haven't fired, so they can actually go in as a charge, which might encourage them a little bit. It means they also suffer 1 less fire because you've got approach fire, return fire, and they're going to get a defensive fire when they're actually shocked. So let's see if I can find a charge marker for that. Infantry charge. Shock. Thought there was a charge. Well, let's put that on there. That's definitely good. They're definitely going in shocking. Right. Rest of Anderson's. I think Mr. Anderson will actually move up to support that shock. There's his little A1 and keep that on him. Okay. So we've got this unit here. Be nice if we could get him here, wouldn't it? But we can't, because we can't really go through that guy. One and a half, 3. This is part of the problem when you command split by the, going across this stream. 1.5, 3. 1.5, 3. Let's actually stick him on it. Actually, split him around. Let's stick him on top. Okay. I think that's Mr. Anderson complete. Well, some artillery, but that's not getting across at the present moment. Okay, so now let's engage over here in this actual shock attempt. Artillery depending on its own. That shouldn't be too good, but actually, can that withdraw before combat? Let me just check. No, the guns can't retreat before shock, so we're going to have to go through the actual shock procedure. Okay, so designate, well, there's only one actual designated target of this shock, um, and it's a charge because the infantry didn't fire. So we now have what's called the green attacker commitment check. They are green, so we've now got to see if they actually are willing to push into the guns. No. Um, yeah, dice tower. Okay, so their morale is 7. Anderson gives them an 8. They fail. I'm just going to check, do they actually have to make that check? Because they're only facing guns. That's it. Nothing else happens. They don't disorder from it, and they don't push on. So that is gone. Uh, anything but a 9. Ah, bloody dice. But yeah, okay. So we're now going to change Mr. Anderson from A1 to A2. Hey, Pond's Brigade. So we're going to push these forward. 1.5, 3. So they're going to suffer approach fire from the artillery that's in this hex. Okay. Another 6 steps of artillery at +2. +3, -1 for, yeah, +2. The dice are seeming to favor the Union at the moment. So that's an 8, 9, 10. That's 1 big D on that unit. So let's flip him and give him a strength marker on him from 7. Increases what? Takes that to 6. Rotate that slightly. Okay, stick it under there. That's approach fire. Sometimes. There we go. Approach fire. Okay. So that's before he actually gets to shoot. And if he fires now, he will then get return fire. Okay, so that unit's not going to fire. This unit, though, moves in, does a facing change, and then will flank fire into there. Now, he's also short of ammo. Okay, so he's got +2 because he's muskets, -1 because he's firing into the woods, -1 because he's disordered, so it makes it to 0, and another -2 because he's ammo depleted, and then +1 because he's firing into the flank of a unit. So net -1. 3 becomes 2 with 6 increments, is D -1 on the Union unit. Okay. So their morale is 6. They roll 6. Okay, so McDowell subtracts 1. The Union adds 1 because it's Union this time of the day, and then that 6. The actual result D -1 subtracts 1. So they're okay from that. I think Pond needs to get over with his unit. Okay, what to do with these guys? They are of lower quality. I don't think they're going to attack uphill. All right, so is it worth trying to recover them? Good question. Let's put Pond's attack marker there. Okay. Now let's actually. I don't know what to do. They only got 5 movement points, so that means they can actually move 1 hex. Yeah, let's take that back. Try and recover them. 4 morale. They're fine now. Flip that back over. Okay, and this unit also 4 morale. They say no. In actual fact, they might have lost a step there. Hold on there. Yes, under the rally rules, if at least 2 times higher than its disordered cohesion rating, I rolled an 8, 4, it remains disordered and loses 1 strength point, effectively classed as stragglers. A 9 is always that, no matter what their disorder rating is. Okay, so they actually do some men just decide, you know what, we've had enough of this. And yeah, they go back. Not good. We could try and get this artillery across as well, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea, considering this is actually a fresh unit. I think we'll keep them back. And also, we've got these out of command, so some of these units couldn't move anyway. Okay. All right, let's actually, do we go in? Considering these are not even disordered. Look at the morale difference there. 3, 5, 6. I don't know. I don't even think that's a good idea. I mean, it's a big unit. It's 13, and we're attacking with 6, 14. So that's 20. 20 to 13. You know what? We've got to push. So let's push. Okay, let's go. Those 2 units are going in. And that unit there is actually technically charging because it hasn't fired. Okay. Whew. This could get extremely messy. Got my second disorder charts ready. And now we go into, we designated all the green attacker commitment check. Okay, so that unit isn't green. Let me just zoom in a little bit more here. Okay, so that unit isn't green, and this unit is, and he's only got a morale of 3. They say, no way are we going in. Let's delete that. They decide no. Okay, so that just leaves this unit shocking that unit now. They don't have to do a green cohesion check. Defender pre-shock cohesion check. Right, okay. This could be interesting because they are being hit in the flank. Right, so per leader, McDowell's there. So that's a -1. Unit is disordered. They're not disordered. Defender has been attacked from flank or rear. It is, so that's +1. And there's no fatigue. So it's so -1 for the leader, +1 for the being hit in the flank. So it's a straight roll. However, again, it's union on the first turn. First day. So we are looking 3. They're fine. Don't mind being hit in the flank, they say. They can't reaction fire though, because they can't change the facing of the guns. So now we determine shock DRMs. So Confederate Union. Okay. So per odds ratio. So it's 14 to 13. Actually, now do the guns count? I think if they're stacked with infantry, they might count one strength point. It does count one strength point for every 4 guns rounded down. So that's adding one strength point to that hex. So that makes it 14 to 14, 1 to 1. So no adjustment for that. A defender disordered? No. Charge benefit? No. They fired, didn't they? The flank and did nothing. Did they fire? Sure they fired. Yeah, yeah. That's the problem. Playing on your own, you haven't got someone going, yeah, they fired. Stacked with an aggressive leader? No, he's cautious. As per a terrain chart. Okay, so the terrain we're doing is upslope into the woods. I don't think that actually has any effect. So up a gradual slope, no effect. In the woods, no effect. So no effect. And there's an A.S. Johnson effect, no effect. Right. So there's no benefit for the Confederates. Odds ratio benefit for the Union, no. Any attacker disordered? Yes. The attacker is disordered, so it's one benefit to the Union. Attacker has no brigadier. They do have a brigadier. Attack with advance orders. Each successive continued shock, no. And as per terrain chart, none. Right, but it is a flank attack. Position modifier, it is a flank attack. That's +3. If the frontal unit had gone in, that would have been at +4. But it's not. So it's 3 takeaway 1, so it's +2 overall for the Confederates in this attack. Okay. High is good. 7 +2 is 9. Okay. Defender retreats. Defending unit retreats 1 hex and then disorders. Plus attack of may, stroke must, continue shock. Right. So we've got some interesting stuff. Got defending unit retreats 1 hex. I think the guns get abandoned. So let's do that. So that unit retreats 1 hex. Okay. And then disorders. Let's flip that over. Right. With MacDowell. Not the guns. With MacDowell. The guns are obviously with MacDowell, so let's move that out of the way. Right. Let's find out what actually happens to the guns. Okay. If the result had been 10 or higher, in this case it was 9, the guns would be automatically abandoned. As this result was less than that, they can retreat. However, they can't retreat if the terrain cost for them is more than 2. And that hex there is a wood hex, and that one's a wood hex, and that one's a wood hex. So it has no option. They are abandoned. So let's play that with MacDowell. So those guns go to the abandoned table. Okay, so these guns are abandoned. These guys can move into here with pond. All right, and then they can do a facing change. Do they want to do a facing change? No. Now the option is, do they continue the attack? Because it was on the attack results table. Too many tables, but there we go. It was defender retreat, defending unit retreats 1 hex and then disorders, plus attacker may, stroke must, continue shock. Now, if that had been an infantry charge, that would be a must. So they may continue, but now, is it worth the continuation? Because they've got a few more things against them now. Though both sides are disordered, it's now no longer a flank attack. So, and each successive continued shock is a -1. Let me work it out if it's worth continuing. I think it's worth the risk. I haven't added the modifiers up together. First thing, I just double checked, and we go through the whole shock resolution procedure again with a few little exceptions. So don't have to do a green attacker commitment check. They're not green anyway. We still now have to do a defender pre-shot cohesion check. Um, so there's no continuous shock never gets a charge bonus. Yeah, odds round in favor of the defender. So yeah, got to do this check. So their morale is G4. He makes it G5, McDowell, but again, it's Union on the first turn makes it down to G4. Do they stand? They're all a one. They're loving it. Bring it on. They want their guns back. Okay. Then we have oh, wait a minute. There were well, a one's going to pass. There's no other modifiers. No. Okay, so they're going to pass. So there's a pre-shock fire. So they get to reaction fire again. I thought that was a bit too foul. They get fire again. So I did delve deep into the rules here. So pre-shock fire is available to both phasing and non-phasing defenders against continued shock, unless they used it previously during that brigade activation, which they did, or are in the frontal hex of another enemy unit. So yeah, so they can't do it twice. Because they've fired effectively at this unit. Actually, no, they haven't. They haven't. Right, okay, because this unit came up and was hit by approach fire. These couldn't fire because the artillery was on top, and they were hit in the flank, so they actually haven't fired. Right, okay, so they do get to fire. Okay, fair enough. So 6 of them, they are disordered. So we know what are they armed with? Rifle muskets, so that's in an adjacent hex. I think that's +1. That's +1. Firing into the woods, -1. So it's straight. Then they're disordered. That's -1. Do they have any other modifiers? I don't think so. That's a -1 with 6 increments. They roll a 2, which becomes a 1. That's D-2 on the Confederate unit. Okay, 6 taken away 2 is 4. What's the morale on that Confederate unit? It's 5, so they're okay. Right, so that was the... Got to remember all these little steps. All right, so that's Defender's pre-shock resolution. Pre-shock reaction fire. Now resolving the shock. So the shock DRMs. So the odds ratio rounds in the Defender's favor this time. So it's 14 to 13. Yeah, so that's straight. And the defender disordered, yes, that's +1. Boop. Charge benefit. No. Stacked with an aggressive leader, no, ponders cautious. As per terrain chart, as we determined, the woods and the hills don't affect. Yes, John, no. Defenders, any attacker disordered? Yes. Attacker has no brigadier. The brigadier is following through. Attacker with what? No. Each successive continued shot is -1. So it's a net -1 on the dice. There's no flank attack this time. It's coming in the front. Okay. So high is good for the Confederates. They rolled on 1. Okay. Because the result is less than 1. Okay. Attacker retreats 1 hex and then disorders. Defender may use continued shock. So defenders can go forward. Okay, back and forth here. So they fall back 1 hex into there. And they're already disordered, so they take another. So this is second disorder table. All right, so they roll a UDD. Pass, lose 1 SP, then retreat. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Shock with the table results. So the extra shock table result is attacker retreats 1, then disorders. Okay. Okay, so they're now going to roll a UDD. 2, so they pass. So they lose 1 strength point and retreat another 1 to 2 hexes. So they fall. They fall back there. Okay. Let me just tidy that all up. Okay, so the Union unit can move back into that hex there. Okay. The abandoned guns remain abandoned because that unit is not in good order. If it returns to good order, then the guns can be recruited. So yeah, that didn't go too well for the Confederates, did it? Because we still got one final thing to do. For that is end of, what do they call it? But post-shock automatic disorder. All attacking infantry and dismount cavalry in good order are now automatically disordered. Each stack of attacking units with at least one already disordered unit suffers 1 SP. Call them stragglers if you wish. So, stragglers, yeah, the Confederates didn't like it up them, sir. So they lose another strength point. And now I need to check some leader losses, I think. Okay, so McDowell should have tested when the guns if a leader is stacked with a combat unit that suffer 1 or more step losses. Oh, no step losses were suffered by the Union, were they? No. So they don't check. Whereas Pond has taken some, so Pond's got to check. Okay. No, he's fine. It's only on a 0. Okay, so that's Pond Brigade done. I need to change his activation to 2. So let's delete that A1 and give him a little A2. Well, that didn't really go the Confederates' way, did it? No. They've got a lot of losses there. And that just leaves Gibson's brigade, which are, yeah, they're going to go forward. Okay. So we're going to engage Gibson's massive unit here. So these move forward and fire. So it's +2 to the fire table for muskets, -1 for firing into the woods, -1 for being disordered. So it's a straight roll. And they roll a 3. Might get me 5 tables up. So they roll a 3 on the 6 to 8 table. That's a straight D on that unit. Their morale is 5. Buckler makes 6. Union at this time of day makes 5. They roll 2. They stand and will return fire. Okay, so they will fire with muskets +2. In fact, it's going to be a straight roll as well. Okay, so their shot is 0. Okay, 6 to 8. That's a D -2 on the Confederate unit. They roll 7, take away 2 is 5. They pass. Right. Okay. That's then 5 for that brigade activation. So now this unit, okay, is going to spend a movement point to get that out of the way. So let's just delete that extended line, and then moves forward into there as well, and then fires with 6 increments as well. So it's again +2 for muskets, -1 for disordered, -1 for firing into the woods. They roll a 6. That's a bit better result. That's a D +2 on the Union unit. They roll a 5. +2 is 7. Their morale is 5. They add 1 for Buckland and subtract 1 for the Union. So they fall back disordered. So it's a second case disorder, and they fall back Let me get the second disorder table. Not friendly fire. I wish they'd done this in alphabetical order. Lose one SP, then retreat 1 to 2 hexes. Okay. Right. So let's move these attack markers out of the way at the moment. Right. Pull back 1 to 2 hexes. Well, let's pull back 1. And he's got to take a strength point loss. And because of that special rule we had at the beginning of the video, must take a morale check. Well, first of all, we've got to do a check on Buckland. That shot. No, he's fine. And then their UDD. Right, so the morale is 5. I don't think there's any modifiers. Buckland subtracts from the unit, so they don't rout. That's the key thing there. This unit can't follow up its advance because advance after fire because of he didn't start adjacent to the enemy unit. Okay, so that means we're going to bring this unit now. He's already done these morale checks. If we remember from the previous video, I'm not going to redo them because that was my mistake. So 1.5 and then 2.5 to there. He can fire. I think it might be worthwhile in firing on that unit there. Yeah, why not? Okay, so muskets, -1 at that range. I'll just double check. Yeah, -1. Firing through the woods and into the woods is another -2, so it's -3 in total. -3. 8 comes a 5. That's D +1 on whoever they are, 17th Illinois. Okay, so their morale is 4. Race gives them +1, so it makes them 5 morale. But they're subtracted by 1 because it's the Union. At this time of day makes it 4, and it's a D +1, so it's +1 on this roll. 8. They don't like it. They second case disorder. So that means they take. Now we have to roll for race because they've taken a step loss. Ooh, race. We have our first leader casualty. Okay, so race is removed and will be replaced later at the end of the turn. So I presume that brigade has no commander. Now, so they now fall back 1 to 2 hexes, take a step loss because it was a second case disorder. So they're on 12. So let me just get a strength point marker for them. That comes 11. And now they also check for route. Um, 4. Actually, I'm not sure there's any modifier. Hold on there. Yes, the +1 modifier still applies. So that unit also routes from that. Okay. So let me just put him on the route track. And that's McClellan's 1st Division. So that's his first actual route. Okay. That was quite effective. In the sense that, but there's no one to actually shock attack. Are we finished? Oh no, this unit hasn't moved either. Okay. So we're going to move Gibson into there. It's got 5 morale. It's got 5 morale. They're all disordered. Going to stack him underneath. We need 3 marker. Put right at the bottom. There we go. The cavalry. Oh, we might as well bring him up. Okay, so that's Gibson done. Let's give me a second activation marker. Okay. And I think that'll be him actually. I don't even know if he's got an OCC on him. That means he has to have one activation less than Ruggles. And Pond. I think it's only Anderson who hasn't. Ruggles we will move up. He can move at any point. Trying to keep them all together. Okay. Um, let's keep the attack markers near where they're supposed to be. Not quite sure what happens when these get activated now, because they've now got no actual brigade commander. Well, we'll worry about that one when it happens. So that's Ruggles, and he gets a little A2 marker on him now, done twice. And every one of his brigades has been done twice. So when his next chit comes out, it'll only be Anderson that can activate. And when that happens, he will then take a fatigue point. But as you can see, the center area is beginning to become rather stretched. Okay, so that ends Ruggles. Let's see who we actually draw for the next chit. Let's put that there. Next chit out is the Union, and it is Sherman. A good reaction. Let's see what he can do in the next video. Okay, I'm going to pause that, bring that back up to the top. Quite a lot happened there. Three different brigades, three different sort of things. Anderson really pushed in the center, and the Union fell back. Quite Union units routed during the course of that whole activation. And Pons didn't go too well. He took the guns, pushed him on forward. I was hoping that as I say, when I'm playing a particular side, I'm wearing their hat. I was hoping that they would fail the cohesion check. They didn't, and the actual combat result was absolutely shocking. They fell back, took losses, and the Union have retaken their guns. And if they're still there at the end of the turn and they rally that unit, which could potentially happen now because Sherman's just activated, those guns become recrewed. So yeah, Pond didn't do well. And then Gibson, yes, he pushed forward. Some excellent shooting, and the Union unit fell back. Wraith actually being taken casualty. Well, he's dead. Will be replaced in the leader replacement phase, which is at the end of the turn. So for this whole rest of the 9 a.m. turn, they were without that brigade is without a commander. How that affects activations, I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'll have to check that when it comes to it. But Sherman's up next. So a lot happened. I found that quite interesting, and I hope you did too. And if you really did, hit the like button. Again, all helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Yeah, I've got to do the housekeeping and all that rubbish. And yeah, any comments much appreciated. And as I mentioned at the beginning there, I've now got a super thanks button if you want to support the channel. Onwards and upwards. All I can say is I'm loving this game. Hope you guys are. And until next time, play games, have fun. Bye, Internet.